excuse me. So if we're looking for the function rule, we're looking for the equation, you need to ask yourself a few things. Before, we always said as long as this is going up by 1, which it is, then whatever this is going up by will be that coefficient to your x. What's a coefficient?
What wasn't that with wait, it's like a variable with a number?
It's the number in front of the variable, right? So this would be the number that comes before. Well, if you look at this, this is plus 2, okay? This one is plus 4. Doesn't follow the same pattern. Put your phone away. Not on your desk. Away. There we go. So it's not following that same pattern. This one would be plus 8. This one's plus 16. But what you notice, these numbers are then doubling again, right? So there is something going on that's like a pattern. We just have to figure out what that pattern is. So it's what?
Is that cubed?
It's not cubed. It's not squared, but it's the same. There's an exponent, right? Okay, so if you think about it, you're trying to figure out how this number is somehow going to get us to this new number, okay? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is actually going to be your exponent. So it's something to the first power equals 2. Something to the second power equals 4. Something to the third power equals 8. What number would be that bottom number? What to the first power equals 2?
Wait, Miss, I have a question.
2.
Wait.
2.
Wait, that only works for the first 2. Wait, because look.
2 to the second power
would be
4.
I don't get it.
Right, so look here. Okay, look here. If I take 2 to the first power, it equals 2, right? If I take 2 to the second power, it equals 4. If I take 2 to the third power, 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, right? So 2 to the third power is 8. 2 to the fourth power is 16. 2 to the fifth power is 32. So you're taking 2, Jaden, welcome back. You're taking 2 to the power of what?
2. Why?
To the power of x, right? Whatever your x value is, you're taking 2 to that. So your equation here is y equals 2 to the x power, okay? I know that's not an easy one to come up with. Don't stress about it. I give you much more basic ones on the quizzes and the tests, but it's just good to see, like, there's lots of ways you can get to a function, okay? Here's one of them. What are you doing today? Stop it. Brooklyn doesn't teach you math. I teach you math. Pay attention up here. Okay, another T-chart. Let's say we have an x value and a y value, and your points are 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 0, 4, 8, 12, and 16, okay? Now, here's where I have some explaining to do to you, because there is a way that you can do this that I've already showed you, and that's all fine and good. But there's also another way that's probably a little bit simpler, actually. That you can just think through. So let's look at this. The way I showed you before, we said the 0 term is your constant, right? So you're adding 0 to whatever it is we're talking about. And then the difference between them, right? This is plus 4, plus 4, plus 4, goes where? In front of the x, right? That's your coefficient to your x. So your equation is essentially y equals 4x, okay? That's all fine and good when these numbers jump up by 1. But sometimes those numbers don't jump up by 1, like that question on your quiz, okay? The other thing you can do on these problems is just ask yourself the question. Here's the question. What did I do to the x to get my y? Okay, so let's think about that way instead. If you look 0 to 0, what did I do to 0 to get 0? What did I do to 1 to get 4? What did I do to 8 to get, to 2 to get 8? What did I do to 3 to get 12? Multiplied by what? 4, okay? So if we're saying we're multiplying our x value by 4 to get our y, then y would equal 4x, right? So you can get there without doing this or that. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's try that on this next one. Don't do my first way. We're going to do it this new way. What did I do to the one to get the other? Let's say we have, yes.
I think you can go up because I should see.
Yeah. You're welcome. Let's say we have this. Okay, ask yourself the question, what do I do to the x value to get the y value? Melian.
Multiply by 3.
By what?
By 3.
Not by 3. 1 times what gets me 6? 2 times what
6.
gets me, right? If we multiply by 6, what we're saying is the y value will always be 6 times the x value, okay? Check it with our other method. If I go 0 here, this is going to be 0, right? So that means my constant is 0, and we are changing by 6 every time. Doesn't that follow the same pattern as we always did before? Yeah. Okay, so you can get there both of those ways. If this does not jump up by 1, that's the way you should try to get there. Okay, if it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 50 on your x value, then you should do it, what did I do to my x to get my y? Okay, I would always start with that question and then move into the other one if you need to, or if you can. What about this one? So this one's a little bit different, but you ask yourself the same question. You have an x and you have a y, and we have the numbers. Don't say your answer. I want to give everyone a chance to write this down and think through it first. Okay, so just take a look at this, but don't say anything yet, because I want everyone to try to figure it out before they hear the answer. Do any of you drink chai tea lattes?
Yeah.
They're like my happy place.
What is that?
I love them.
I think I've had,
It's like spiced tea
It's a what?
with steamed milk, because it's a latte. No, it's so good.
Spicy tea?
Yeah, I don't want cold. My son does too. Okay, did anyone figure it out? What am I doing to the x to get the y, Lance? You add 7. Okay, so look here. If I go 1 plus 7, I'm going to get 8. 2 plus 7, I'm going to get 9. 3 plus 7, I get 10. 4 plus 7, I get 11. How do you write that as an equation? Melian.
Y equal 7 plus 1?
Not plus 1, plus x, right? Because we want it to be general. So we want to use these instead of using these, right? So my x value, whatever that is, I'm going to add 7 to it. Now you could say 7 plus x, but typically we put the variable first and then say what we're doing to the variable, so x plus 7, okay? So just look for that in equations. Now for today's, you might not be able to do that in a lot of them. I honestly can't remember if you can or cannot, but just keep in mind, if you're counting by 1 here, you can do our other rule, right? If possible, if it follows that same pattern. But look for things like y equals x squared, or y equals x to the 3rd power, or y equals some number to the x power, okay? Look for those things because they all are a little bit different, and it's just a matter of trying to figure out what pattern is happening, okay?
Yes.
Questions?
Nor.
Super short lesson. I'm gonna remember you forever for NAR. I am. Okay,